Hello and welcome back to Absurd Land. What you're about to see are glimpses of a past that won't fade quietly. Some stories were buried, these weren't. Five women are lined up in front of a German firing squad. The execution of hostages, especially women and children, was often used in retaliation of resistance. So, the Germans shot the women too. They didn't care. Did that make them less sexist and thus more progressive? Celje, Slovenia, 1942. A Wehrmacht soldier with an Italian prostitute, 1944. Some women were simply doing their usual work, supporting themselves and the local economy. Politics didn't always matter when survival was on the line. During the Russo-Japanese War, a cage filled with severed Chinese heads was displayed by the roadside in Manchuria. These heads belonged to locals accused of espionage or looting, a brutal way of maintaining order in the war zones. 1904. In 1906, after the San Francisco earthquake, a woman stands near a ground rupture in the city. The earthquake, with a magnitude of 7.8, caused widespread destruction and fires that lasted for days, leaving thousands dead and much of the city in ruins. Maurice Tillet, a French wrestler, legend has it he inspired the character Shrek, achieved his greatest success in the United States. He died of a heart attack at 51 when he was told of his friend's death. Tillet suffered from acromegaly, a condition that caused excessive growth in his bones, particularly in his head. 1940s. The Last Cigarette. Chinese people waiting to be buried alive during the Japanese occupation of Nanking. In many cases, the Japanese forces didn't bother with beheadings or wasting bullets. They simply bound the victims' limbs and buried them alive. 1938. Yes, this is exactly what it looks like. Thousands of remains collected from the battlefield near Verdun, France during World War I. The 10-month battle resulted in nearly 250,000 deaths. 1916. A British Handley Page Halifax heavy bomber that returned full of holes from a night mission over Germany. Hit by anti-aircraft fire and fighter planes, it still managed to make it back to England. Survival in such a condition was far from common. 1942. A door gunner was fatally shot in the head aboard an American helicopter over Vietnam. Dr. Gunners were responsible for protecting the helicopter from ground attacks using M60 machine guns. 1972. In 1915, the cook aboard the Endurance, the ship of the Antarctic expedition, is preparing a meal from a hunted penguin. Women with shaved heads and tarred faces. This was the public punishment for those accused of cooperating with German soldiers after the liberation of the Netherlands in May 1945. In Amsterdam and across Europe, locals reacted with anger, leading to scenes of public shaming as the war came to an end. A Seattle bank security guard stands watch over a remaining safe amid the rubble after the devastating earthquake. 1889. Communist Vietnamese girls in the Mekong Delta, training at a Vietnamese People's Army camp. The masks were worn specifically for the photo. 1972. Testing an innovative steering system in a Ford Mercury Park Lane. The vehicle was controlled by turning two rings rather than a traditional steering wheel. 1965. Swimmers congratulate each other at the Moscow Spartakiad, a major Soviet sports festival. The two athletes kissing shows the solidarity and camaraderie among the participants, a result of the blend of sport and socialist ideology, which may have seemed provocative at the time. 1956. slaves and their masters on a coffee plantation, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. At this time, coffee plantations in Brazil relied heavily on slave labor. Slaves worked under brutal conditions while the country's economy thrived on coffee exports. 1885. In 1950, during the Korean War, Chinese prisoners of war captured by American forces used American sneakers and scarves to make up for their lack of proper winter clothing. Kotori, North Korea. In 1953, in Tehran, Iran, a naval officer smiles at the camera just minutes before his execution, ordered by Shah Reza Pahlavi, who had been brought to power through a military coup backed by the British and American governments. In 1968, this photo was taken in Amsterdam's red light district, an area that has existed since the 1300s, originally serving sailors arriving at the port. Over time, it became one of the most well-known red light areas in the world. In 1937, Hitler and Goebbels are pictured in the workshop of sculptor Joseph Thorak. The original photo was not published due to its artistic nudity and was later released in a cropped version. 1962, a civil defense drill with a little extra, Soviet Union, Omsk region. In August 1944, during the liberation of France, some French civilians kicked German prisoners of war as they were marched through towns by American forces. After years of Nazi occupation, the civilians' anger led them to physically confront the POWs. In the 1960s, USA sit-ins referred to activist groups who, as a form of protest, would sit at racially segregated places, mainly restaurants, where black people were not allowed. In most cases, they were met with harassment from white patrons. The photo shows fellow activists training a young woman before her first sit-in. In 1942, female volunteers in Detroit participated in shooting drills as part of the war effort. With many men fighting abroad, women were encouraged to take on roles traditionally held by men, including training for defense and firearms use. This was part of a broader movement to involve women in wartime production and support. In 1964, Ku Klux Klan members in the USA display racist banners during a rally, reflecting the era's intense racial tensions and opposition to civil rights movements. This image is a surreal collage inspired by Hans Bellmer's eerie Pose dolls. It explores the artificial reconstruction of the female body, mixing horror, eroticism, and occult themes like the golem and Frankenhooker. The result is both disturbing and artistic, unsettling, yet thought-provoking. In Hans Bellmer's 1963 photo, he is seen with one of his distorted dolls, not a toy, but a haunting body sculpture. These dolls are filled with eroticism and surreal nightmares, as if he's tearing apart the female body to give it a new, unsettling meaning. The image is both bizarre and intimate, as if Bellmer is living in his own twisted world. 1920s device for X-raying the mouth. A new invention enabling to X-ray the inside of a patient's mouth has caused a stir at the medical exhibition, circa 1920 in London, United Kingdom. Robot-driven chariot, named Virginia, by inventor Adrian Wareham, 1989. The robot also had lawnmower and snowplow attachments. Egon Heinemann's Olga, the headless woman performance in Blackpool in the late 1930s was a truly eerie attraction. Olga appeared headless through a clever trick, evoking both fear and fascination from the audience. These performances showcase the dark side of the circus world, where illusions and distorted human bodies entertained and terrified spectators. Photo of Polish prisoners before being hanged by the German SS in Thuringia, retaliation for the killing of a German policeman, Albin Gottwald, who himself had beaten a Polish prisoner nearly to death, 1942. Bomb squad detectives removed a pipe bomb from Paramount Theater in 1956 before the Mad Bomber was caught. For 16 years in the 1940s and 50s, a folkloric homegrown terrorist, George P. Metesky, dubbed the Mad Bomber, terrorized New York with his 35 bombs. U.S. cavalry soldiers pose in front of the Grizzly Giant, a massive sequoia tree, in 1900. Located in Yosemite National Park, the tree is estimated to be over 2,000 years old and was once used as a postal address by early park rangers. It still stands today. Judging by their clothing and posture, these women may have been sex workers. Parading them like this might seem extreme today, but at the time, it symbolized justice and victory. Tens of thousands of women, some guilty, many merely accused, faced public shame, beatings, or even death. Others escaped punishment entirely, living quietly with the past behind them. A woman with a shaven head, accused of collaborating with the Germans during the German occupation of France, is marched away by a member of the French resistance in a street at Chartres after the city's liberation. August 1944. Following similar scenes across Europe, members of the French resistance in Cherbourg shaved the heads of women accused of relationships with German soldiers. These acts of public humiliation sometimes included tarring, feathering, or even beatings, depending on the mood of the crowd. In 1885, 27-year-old Theodore Teddy Roosevelt, who would later become the 26th President of the United States, is seen in his hunting attire, a common outfit for his frequent hunting trips.
Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.